Hello Team FD and welcome back to Winners and Losers, the show where we look at the highs and the lows from the Premier League weekend just past. And joining me, it's a classic lineup. It's Joseph Tomlinson, it's Zach Gelab. Before we crack on with the vast array of football and other things we've got on today's show, how are your weekends, gentlemen? Because the sun was out in London. Starting with you, Zach Gelab.
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. Did a bit of Chelsea work. Had a bit of a fun time with some drinks. Yeah, not too bad.
Also told me he ate a full pack of cookies.
Yeah,
we compensate by going to the gym. Yeah. You gluttonous little pig. Joe, what about you?
Yeah, good mate. Good. Went to Kew Gardens. Very nice. Also went out for some drinks. So yeah, felt like a little bit of a change back to normality at the weekend. A bit of spontaneity was finally allowed to flow, which was very good. How was your weekend?
Very good, thank you, mate. Yeah, I went OTT. You know, giddy at just being out in a beer garden, and yeah, couldn't control my impulses, and I'm currently going through the second day of a 2-day hangover. This morning still not feeling so fresh, but I feel like a lot of Winners and Losers episodes recently have started with us drinking. I want to assure everyone at home we don't have a problem. We are, just like Joe said, enjoying being back out amongst the world, the civilised world. Anyway, before we crack on with some breaking news, actually, because of course we've got our usual sections, haven't we? We've got the talking point, we've got a winner, we've got a loser for you. We're going to prefix that with some breaking news, but not before I plug our boys Manscaped. Okay, if you want to take advantage of the 20% off, you know, via being a subscriber to Football Daily, use the discount code on screen or click the link in the description below. Okay, this morning we're starting with the Telegraph's report that Daniel Ek, co-founder and current CEO of Spotify, is interested in buying Arsenal from Stan Kroenke following the Kroenke out protests at the weekend. He tweeted this over the weekend, didn't he? But the latest development has been that he's working with Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp and Patrick Vieira in order to put together a package that is appealing to both the Kroenkes and the fans, I guess. Now, Joe, we had a little to and fro in on Spotify, on WhatsApp as to the feasibility of this, didn't we?
Yeah.
And you're not feeling it, are you?
No, I'm not feeling it. I think there's a number of different reasons I'm not feeling it, to be honest with you. Obviously, he's a very rich man, Daniel Ek, but I've seen a lot of reports saying, you know, he's the owner of Spotify. He's not the full owner of Spotify. I think he's got about 10% of the shares of Spotify, maybe up to 15%, which is obviously still an awful lot of money. He's a very, very rich man, but Arsenal currently valued at around 3 billion by Forbes, which is an awful lot. Ek is worth about 3.4 billion, but like a lot of people have said, he could use Spotify to potentially leverage a buyout. You know, he could say that he wants to borrow an awful lot of money against Spotify, which a bank would probably do in order to buy Arsenal. But will Kroenke sell is the question. And I think the answer to that is very clearly no. He's got a huge amount leveraged against the club. Let's not forget he built he borrowed $1 billion towards a $5.5 billion LA Rams stadium, using Arsenal as leverage within that bank loan. I think there's absolutely no chance he's going to put up Arsenal for sale when he's got so many assets in America that are moving parts. Like moving the Rams to LA cost an awful lot of money. And how do you think he got that money off the banks? He used things like Arsenal as leverage. He's not going to risk any of his American sporting enterprises by selling Arsenal. I think it's just not going to happen. He's going to keep them in his back pocket.
Yeah, and just to give you guys an indication at home of, you know, just how big his fortune is that Kroenke has amassed. He's currently worth $8.2 billion according to Forbes. And like Joe said, he owns the Los Angeles Rams and the Denver Nuggets. But Arsenal fast becoming the jewel of the crown. Do you think this is all just a big stunt, Zach? You know, you are our financial report. I've just made you our financial report this morning. So if you could comb through, or if you could do an audit of both companies, that'd be great.
No, it's definitely something. Look, Daniel Ek is definitely interested. He's an Arsenal fan, and it kind of feels like the Sunderland guy that wanted to buy Sunderland, and whose money was non-existent. But I think he's a bit more legitimate. The thing is, just as Joe said, Kroenke isn't going to sell, and there's also questions over X like morality. I mean, Spotify in general aren't the best for paying artists. And whether you think that, I think a lot of people hear the word Spotify and think of this huge company that's, you know, billions and worth billions and billions. However, it's not Spotify that you're getting. You're not getting Spotify's money that can then go and help buy, you know, Kylian Mbappe, Erling Haaland and all that. Yeah, like, Kroenke's not going to sell X. And even if he did to Ek, I don't really see a world where this guy who isn't, in terms of the billionaires, don't get me wrong, he's got a few, but he's not the richest of them all, and whether he's going to be then investing his own money into Arsenal is another question. I think Arsenal themselves are in a bit of a state where I don't think they're going to have, no matter who comes in, if it's Ek, they're going to be buying a lot of players. So yeah,
you sound nervous, Shalab. You sound nervous that they're coming for the London
parade,
mate.
Yeah, let them do what they want. I just think it's going to be. It's sad because it's going to get Arsenal fans' hopes up, and it's just not going to happen. And we'll see.
I hope it does, though, man. I hope it does. Let's get Kroenke out. Let's get them all out.
Yeah, but people can say that as much as they want, but it's not going to happen. Like, it really just isn't. Like, I don't mean to like put a negative spin on it, because it is good to see that the fans are like standing up for themselves and having you know, a backbone and trying to get their voice heard, and at least it'll definitely start a conversation with the fans and the club. Whether that conversation is the club selling, I'm not so sure. Yeah, all I'd say to Arsenal fans, don't get your hopes up too much.
Zach Jalab providing some definitive answers there, and he's also questioning the morality of Spotify. I bet you weren't thinking about that at home, so some food for thoughts. Let's move on to the talking point anyway, which is, I tinkered with the format a little bit, boys. I didn't pick a particular game here. I went for, you know, the underdogs winning en masse across the Premier League, or, you know, even if they didn't win, they didn't lose. Everton beating Arsenal, for example. Leeds drawing with United. Newcastle drawing at Anfield with Liverpool. It wasn't a great day great weekend, for the clubs that were trying to break away into the European Super League, was it? So football was the winner this weekend. Not to mention Burnley decimating Wolves and Sheffield United beating Brighton.
Christopher.
So I know. I've got a question for you then, chaps, in relation to this subject. I've turned to Sean Connery. I want one player from each of you who is basically too good to be relegated, and which club do you think should pick them up as a result? A few of these sides, well, they're all destined to go down, aren't they now? Sheffield United, Fulham, and West Brom. Like, there's 7 points in it, I think, between Fulham and Brighton. So that's why I had to sort of, tinker with it a little bit. But have I bought you guys enough time to come up with an answer there, Joe?
Go on. Go on, Joe. You go.
All right, well, I'll kick us off. I think Matheus Pereira definitely is a very obvious candidate here, isn't he? Still only 24 years of age. I think he's been responsible for about 50% of West Brom's goal output this season. Fantastic for them in the Championship. I thought they did really well to get hold of him again this season. And there's no way he can spend another year down there, to be honest with you. I'm pretty sure he'll be keen to leave West Brom. West Brom will be keen to get the money in the bank for him. And I think, you know, I don't want to pitch him too high here. I'm a bit worried about pitching him too high. But I do think that some of the clubs battling for those top 6, top 8 places could do a lot worse than Matheus Pereira. I really think he would. I even think he would add to a team like Leicester. Now, I'm not saying I think he'd be the most ambitious signing for Leicester, but I do think they're slightly light in the wide areas. And I think Matheus Pereira might be a cheap option for a club like Leicester, who don't want to go out and spend £50 million on a winger. Instead, they want to conserve finances a little bit and be a bit smarter. I think Matheus Pereira would be a smart option for someone like them. If he can't punch that high, then I think there's definitely middling clubs that should be all over Matheus Pereira. A club like Aston Villa, who I know people will say, you know, they've got the likes of Trezeguet and El Ghazi, you can also play wide, but I think Matheus Pereira will be an upgrade on both of those players, sticking around sort of middle of England. Not a massive step up for him. And I think Aston Villa could do an awful lot worse than sign somebody as versatile as Matheus Pereira. You know, attacking midfield through the middle. He can drift out onto the right a little bit as well. I think he's all round very, very solid. So I'll say Matheus Pereira to either a Villa or maybe even somebody like a Leicester. You never know.
Yeah, goal contribution every other game definitely warrants a move to a side in the top half of the table, and I think he would probably be a better option on the right-hand side than Ayoze Perez. Like you've said, he is tactically versatile as well, can play down the middle. He split a lot of his time between attacking midfield and that right-hand side, so could do a role, if James Maddison keeps getting injured, keeps picking up little niggling injuries, he can definitely fill in for him there. And like I said, I'd much prefer him to Perez. And his penalty number's pretty impressive. I think most shots, most key passes, and most dribbles in the side. So definitely an outstanding candidate for a move. I agree. Zach, you got any other ideas?
Yeah, I was just thinking. I was actually just going through the teams. I think, to be quite honest, Sheffield United don't have much in general. There's not many players there. I'd be taking. Yeah, sure. If you want. I actually think Sam Johnson in goal for West Brom's pretty good. I think he's a Premier League goalkeeper. Whether that is a top half Premier League goalkeeper, I'm not so sure. But I think if you're looking for a keeper, then I think he's worth taking a punt. Like, in my opinion, he's better than someone like Ramsdale was last season when Bournemouth got relegated and Sheffield United picked up him. I mean, Brighton are kind of within that area. Brighton have a few players, I think, but the number one for me, even though he's not played as much.
Surely they're not going down there, are they?
They're much closer than, say, like a Newcastle are to the relegation zone compared to the other teams.
Yeah, Brighton's forwards have done enough for them to be playing Championship football next season. They've done enough damage. But I agree with Joe. Probably not going to go down. I think Fulham have Chelsea and United as well in the running. So quite a tough running. But do you think there's anyone from Brighton then, as you were mentioning, that should be playing at a much higher level than 16? Although I think we all agree they should be, as a collective, higher than 16.
Yeah, in general, there's probably quite a few, but the number one for me, even though he's probably not played as much, is Tarek Lamptey. I think Tarek Lamptey's could easily be playing Champions League football in a couple of years. If I was Arsenal, I'd be looking at getting him in at right back. Because Hector Bellerin is just not going to cut it out anymore, sadly, after the injuries that he's had. And Tarek Lamptey looks like that perfect kind of player, the way Mikel Arteta wants to play with his fullbacks and a fullback partnership of Kieran Tierney and Tarek Lamptey. It sounds pretty good.
I think Brighton have got loads of assets. If they went down to the Championship, would be like, I just don't see him getting relegated for one. But Ben White can't spend another season in the Championship. I don't think Lewis Dunk would play in the Championship again. I definitely don't think Yves Bissouma would be spending too long down there at all. So I'm not sure Brighton will go down, but they've got way too many players that are way too good for that level of football. Unfortunately,
I think a victory against Sheffield United would have signalled the end of any relegation fears, but they endeavoured to lose, again missing a hatful of chances. But we'll move on. I'll move on to my answer. Ademola Lookman. I think he's had a season that we probably wanted him to have maybe 24 months ago. Like, he's managed to clock up a decent amount of minutes this term. 8 goals and assists in 27 starts. No one has more goal contributions for a flailing Fulham. I think De Cordova-Reid has 5 and he's their top goal scorer. But he's made more starts this season, Ademola Lookman, than in his previous 5 combined. He's kind of perennially been a substitute, hasn't he? And he's still young, but he's youngish. He's 23 now. He needed to put together 2,000 plus minutes, and he's done that. So it's going to be good for his career in the long run. I don't know if Leipzig will be open to selling him or if they'll want him back at the club. But yeah, he leads Fulham for a bunch of important statistics, like shots, like key passes. So he's done his reputation the world of good, I think. And yeah, done well to actually deliver over a sustained period of time. Moving swiftly on to Manchester City then, and this comes from @Lidl for life. Obviously a huge fan of the budget supermarket. Respect your frugality, my friend. Manchester City, fairly obvious one, lifting their 8th League Cup title after beating Tottenham 1-0 at Wembley on Sunday, their 4th in a row. They now have equalled Liverpool's joint record of 8 victories in the competition. Joe, blistering first 45. You were purring over it in the WhatsApp group. What impressed you, not just in the first 45, but over the course of this game?
They're just different levels for Tottenham, weren't they? They were honestly different level yesterday. And it was a result that was not needed, but after the FA Cup semi-final loss, I think Pep Guardiola will have demanded from that team. Because the energy levels were just frightening in that first 45. They were all over Tottenham like a rash, weren't they? The defence at Spurs, I mean, it must be having nightmares this morning. It couldn't pass out from the back, could they? The amount of times I was trying to watch Eric Dyer split the lines and fail was absolutely incredible. Has to be said, though, I still believe the timing of the Mourinho sacking was poor from Daniel Levy. I totally agree with sacking Jose Mourinho. But the timing of it, wait until after the final, for goodness sake, even if it costs you a couple more million because you have to pay him out a trophy bonus or something like that. That means so much to Tottenham fans. I would rather have had Jose managing him at that game than Ryan Mason. I thought his selection was poor. The decision to leave Ndombele out was poor. The in-game substitutions were really poor when he chose to bring on Moussa Sissoko instead of an Ndombele. I didn't understand at all. And Pep Guardiola...
And that was just straight out the Jose playbook as well, wasn't it? They were the substitutions he was making.
I honestly believe if Jose was in charge of that game, he would have started Ndombele. I really do. I think against a team that is going to press the hell out of you in Man City, which you absolutely know they're going to do, there's not many better central midfielders in the Premier League that's as press resistant as Ndombele. So agreed. I'm really surprised Ndombele didn't get minutes. But yeah, Man City, unsurprisingly incredible. And when they sign a striker this summer, they're just going to be untouchable next year. What a side, man.
Where did Spurs let themselves down then, Zach? I think Joe's already touched upon it, but anything else to add?
Basically every position that was on that pitch. I really felt for the likes of Lucas Moura, Harry Kane and Heung-min Son. Just because they got none of the ball, and anytime they got the ball, it was like a hoof up from the defence, hoping that Harry Kane would win the header and they'd be able to start a counter-attack, but it just very, very rarely happened. I mean, we probably should briefly speak about the Laporte incident of kind of getting away with not getting booked early on, and then people saying that he would have got a red card, but then would he have done that challenge if he was already on a yellow card? I doubt it. so that maybe could have changed the game if he was sent off, but he wouldn't have been sent off in my opinion anyway. But I mean, Spurs put up an XG of 0.06, didn't they? It was
so even if Laporte had got red carded, they hadn't done enough. To be in this game or to warrant any sort of luck. They literally... Go, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, because even, there's one opportunity in my head that really sticks out, and I think it just summed up Spurs in that entire game, is they finally managed to counter-attack Manchester City. Harry Kane gets the ball and is driving forward, holds onto it for a bit too long, then eventually passes Højbjerg in, and Højbjerg, instead of shooting because he's inside the box, then tries to pass it once more to the left to Sergio Reguilón, and it just goes out for a goal kick. And you're just
how bad was Son, by the way? How bad was Son yesterday?
He wasn't
to Son.
It's
awful.
To be fair, I've heard a few Spurs fans recently been complaining about Son in general, but also he didn't really get much of the ball. He didn't really get a lot
Every
of
time he got it, he'd give it away,
from everywhere. And then it was even like Harry Winks. I remember at one point, considering he was 1-0 down, or they were just getting onslaught with Manchester City attacks, tries to pull off a half volley pass, a 60-yard pass, and just goes straight to a Man City player. And you're like, come on, mate. What's happening?
Even if Harry Winks was fit and had played a lot of games recently, to throw him in at that level after being in and out of the side was going to be a very tall order for him, and I don't think he's of that level. Of course, I think Ryan Mason wanted to keep a little bit more possession, didn't he, and maybe be a little bit safer at the base of midfield, playing a double pivot, but. Yeah, it clearly didn't work, and he just looked immobile.
I thought Lloris, to be fair to him as well, was really good.
It wasn't just Son that struggled, though, was it?
Yeah.
Because Harry Kane also didn't register an attempt, and I think the attack is going to struggle when you play or set up like that. But yeah, it carries on a pretty miserable record for Tottenham, doesn't it? They've ended as runners-up in 5 of their last 6 finals in all competitions, failing to score in 4 of them. Wow. Their last 4, that is. So Tottenham fans must be well-versed in this sort of result by now. And unfortunately, I think the team is probably going to be not picked apart next season, but there'll be a few big hitters in that side that want to move on, I imagine, as a result of this campaign, ill-fated campaign. What do we think about the shortlist for the next managers then? Because Maurizio Sarri is now favourite at 5-2.
Jesus. Seems the most likely.
Yeah. I wouldn't be too surprised. I keep hearing there's rumours about Julian Nagelsmann, but that seems done that he's going to Bayern Munich for 30 mil. Sarri would be interesting. That's for sure. There's a few players there that I'm pretty sure he'd like and he'd get get the best out of them. However, if Spurs lose Harry Kane this summer, I don't know what there'll be no manager they bring in could help them.
Joe, do you think they'd be able to turn Brendan Rodgers away from Leicester? Because I look at the top 5, which is Sarri, Nagelsmann, Espirito Santo and Brendan Rodgers, along with Graham Potter, and he is the outstanding candidate for me, but I don't see why he'd leave Leicester at this point.
No, Brendan Rodgers is not going to go to Tottenham. That's just not going to happen. I don't see it happening at all. I think Maurizio Sarri is by far and away the most likely man to get this job. I totally agree with Zach. I think Julian Nagelsmann's probably been having quite a few conversations with Bayern behind the scenes, ready to take over from Hansi Flick this summer. I'd be surprised if that doesn't happen. He's a massive Bayern Munich fan himself. I think he's got a house in Munich. His family is from Munich, so I'd be super surprised if Nagelsmann doesn't take over at Bayern. As for Tottenham's next manager, I think Nuno would be a poor choice. Don't see that fit at all. I think that Graham Potter would be an interesting choice. Whether or not he can make that step up, I'm not overly sure about. If I was Tottenham, I would probably just try and get Max Allegri. I'm not gonna mess around. I don't think the football would be massively entertaining, but I think he's the best man on the market that's available right now. So I would try and get Max Allegri. Whether or not he can pull that move off Daniel Levy remains to be seen, but it'll end up being Sarri, won't it? It'll end up being Sarri and it'll end up going horrible.
Well, after paying £30 million to sack Jose Mourinho, it might be Scott Parker, mate. Might have to go for a budget option. Right, let's move on to Wolves before we round off the show with our moment of the weekend then, because they are our losers, and it comes from @FinSabu. And yeah, they got absolutely slapped up by Burnley, didn't they? Burnley's biggest away victory in the English top flight since a 4-0 victory over Sunderland in November 1965. Sean Dyche's men writing history in match week 33. I love it. The McNeil and Wood show as well. Dwight McNeil bloody loves Chris Wood, mate. 63% of his Premier League assists have been for the big New Zealander. And I've got to say, the opening goal, absolute ripper from Chris Wood in this game. Lovely, lovely finish. And he's now got 13 goals and assists and 27 starts this campaign. And I think Vieira is the next most prolific forward with 4. So it's a good job he's turned up on a few match days this week, or they would have had a cursed campaign, wouldn't they? Anything positive or good to say about Burnley, chaps? Starting with you, Joe.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm pretty happy for Sean Dyche, because obviously started the season off really poorly without Ben Mee. Ben Mee comes back into the setup, and I think they found a little bit more rhythm back half of this season. Obviously, Ashley Barnes hasn't been scoring goals at the rate he was, so I think that's probably something to readdress in the summer. But I remember having a bet with Sonny Snelling at the start of the season. He said that Burnley would finish 16th or down. I said 16th or up. We're up to 14th now. Always back Burnley. I just like the fact that they're like anti-football. I just to have one anti-football side in the league that annoys all of the stats out there. So yeah, fantastic to see Burnley doing well at the moment. And I thought Chris Wood was unbelievable, almost unplayable. He was almost unplayable against Man United. It might have been last weekend, the weekend before. And yet again, when he's on his game, his physicality is second to none. And his touch is really good. So, yeah, shout out to Chris Wood. Really, really good result for Sean Dyche.
Anything to add about Wolves, Zach? Because they have, I mean, after back-to-back victories, again, looking fairly poor, and they've slipped down to 12th now.
Yeah, Wolves are just struggling at the moment with their goal-scoring form. They without Raul Jimenez, they just seem to not, like Willian Jose, that doesn't seem like that's going to happen. And the youngster Fabio Silva? He's at 18. Like, I actually think Fabio Silva's pretty good. I just think he's incredibly young at the moment, and he still feels like he's figuring things out and learning things at the moment. Just attack-wise, they need to get better next season. They need to improve. Adama Traore probably hasn't had the best year I think he'll say it himself, this campaign, and we've always spoken about how his output needs to improve, whether that's creatively or goal-scoring wise.
Made a terrible mistake in this game, passing it back to, I can't remember who it was actually, but
they've also Dwight McNeil, and Dwight McNeil squared it.
Yeah,
they're also going to have an interesting summer. Like, if they can keep hold of Pedro Neto and Podence in the summer, maybe I wouldn't be too surprised if someone maybe looks into Ruben Neves, because he's still a very, very good midfielder that I think could probably be playing at a high level. So if they manage to keep hold of them and bring in another attacker in case whatever happens with Jimenez, then they'll be all right.
I'm thinking Tammy Abraham. There could be a lot of clubs in for strikers like him.
Let's not say anything that we regret.
I think Tammy can punch a bit higher than Wolves.
So do I. I mean, I've touted him for Leicester every other Sunday vibes. But I think, yeah, there's some clubs that have European football aspirations that can't score goals. So actually, I can see Chelsea getting an absolute bag of him in the summer if they do part ways with him.
I reckon
but that
Borussia
is
Dortmund.
a topic for a different time.
I reckon Borussia Dortmund could be a good
Wolves.
destination for Tammy Abraham if Haaland leaves.
For Tammy.
Wow.
That'd be brilliant for him. Anyway, let's move on to our moment of the weekend then. I've got 3 here for you. As per usual, you chaps are going to vote for which one we choose. The first from Alan Hayden, and he is just in the mentions every single week. Shout out Alan Hayden. Good hustle from you. And anything Newcastle do, he submits them. So the last few minutes, Newcastle getting a point he's put forward to his moment of the weekend.
Yeah.
At Liam OWE has gone for St Johnstone beating Rangers in the Scottish Cup. That's going to get my vote. And Little for Life comes in with a second entry of the episode. And he's gone for seeing and hearing fans back in the stadium again after 8,000 people were permitted to watch the game at Wembley. Zach, which one are you going to go for?
We'll go with the fans. It was actually really, really good to see. And it just felt so much more authentic. Like, no delay on when an incident happened. It was really good to see. And I can't, hopefully, not too long till we see even more. I mean, the Euros could be massive.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Do you
Joe?
know what I've just noticed now? I've just seen Lidl for Life's handle, and it's not the supermarket. I'm pretty sure it's Chuck Liddell, the former UFC fighter. Sadly, as
really
devastating as that is. But for that reason alone, I'm going to go for Alan Hayden's. Yeah, I thought the end of that Newcastle game was incredible. It was so drama-filled, wasn't it? I don't think it was a handball from Callum Wilson, yet more VAR mud. Bin that off ASAP. But fair play to Newcastle for battling back. And at the end of the day, I think they probably did just about deserve something out of that game, even though Liverpool had some huge chances.
Mo Salah missed a couple of
I think they just about deserved it. And Joe Willock has scored a couple of really important goals for them now. And I think they're definitely safe, to be honest with you. Is that 7 points clear of relegation now? 6 or 7 points clear of relegation. So I think they're definitely safe.
A great loan spell, and I'm fairly convinced he scored more than any Arsenal midfielder since he departed for the North East. So, mud for Arteta. I'm going to go for St Johnstone, beating Rangers on penalties 4-2.
Nice.
Up the Saints. Because it was nice to see fans back in the stadium. You're right, Zach, but not as nice as seeing Rangers' hopes for a treble, taken out of their hands. Jesus. Anyway, that's how I'm going to end the show. So I've got absolutely nothing to cling on to this season. Absolutely zilch. What should the fine people, if they've made it to the end of the episode, go ahead and watch now, Zach?
Well, if you want to hear about the European football and that has been happening on the continent this weekend, then go over to Eurofootball Daily and check out ERU.
Joseph?
Yeah, go and watch Sunday Vibes if you haven't already. Of course, we were ranking the managers that have been sacked following the Jose Mourinho dismissal.
Yeah, again, if you want to take advantage of that 20% off Manscaped Stellar products, then hit up the discount code on the screen or click the link in the description below to find out more. Like this video, subscribe to the channel with notifications on, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.